It's MTG. You know me. Hey, boo boo. MTG is concerned, frightened, shocked, amazed. That's, oh my goodness gracious. With the assassination of the CEO from United Healthcare, may result in healthcare for all Americans. Because heaven forbid, if you're sick, you don't go into medical debt, medical bankruptcy. Heaven forbid that if you're sick, you can actually be taken care of. Wow. Isn't that a shocker, Billy? So let's hear from MTG. Hey, you know me, MTG. Take it away. The floor is you, boo-boo.
Yeah.
Well, Congressman, this comes as well as you look at what's happening right now with the shooter, Luigi Mangione, and you're seeing so many people on TikTok praise him. This is a man that lost his life. You're seeing CEOs of other healthcare companies pull their staff off of the websites because they're scared. Where do you think this violence is coming from? And do you think it's just going to get exacerbated as we continue into the Trump era with some of these people?
I'm glad you asked that question. And I've been watching this unfold. And
Okay, brace yourself, folks. I should have given you a warning.
believe it's the beginning of a political movement. You know, the left and the right political movements, they try different tactics.
Okay. See, just remember, those of you who are on the right, those of you on the left, those of you in the middle, these politicians view you with very little respect. Because heaven forbid that you ask these politicians to do their job.
They try protests, they try marches, they try storming congressmen and women's offices. They try violence, they try riots. And oftentimes when they're not successful, you know, maybe they're moving to assassinating just one person in order to make the changes they think they want. But there should never be a time where people are cheering on the death of an innocent man, a murder that happened on video that we've all seen unfold over and over again on the news. And this is someone that was clearly mentally unstable and came from a life of privilege and went and killed a CEO for whatever his reasons are, and supposedly as a manifesto. But what I'm more concerned about is we've seen the left push for socialized medicine for years. You know, Bernie Sanders had Medicare for all. I hope this doesn't turn into where they take this guy they're praising, right? Mm-hmm. And make him some sort of hero that they all worship and then pick up the mantra and move it and go after other people.
So, already happening where people are being upset. Listen, I can speak to a fair share of conservatives who've been screwed over by their health care insurance. I could speak to a few liberals and progressives and libertarians and Greens who've been screwed over by their health care insurance. People are angry. Boomers, Xers, millennials, Gen Z, white, black, brown, yellow. No matter who they worship, no matter what state they live in, you know, the story's all the same. Hey, my healthcare insurance is screwing me over. You too? Yeah, surprise, surprise. People will agree with each other. But see, this is what these politicians are afraid of. See, they dance and drink because they believe you are weak. They dance and drink because they don't want you to have healthcare. They dance and drink because they feel that you don't deserve the respect and dignity of actually living a long, healthy life. See, don't get sick. That's a watchword. Don't get sick. Don't get sick. Don't get sick. Does it come as a surprise that these politicians are being disrespected at such a high order? I mean, these lawmakers who have gold-plated health care, a six-figure salary, and other wonderful social benefits, and a nice, cushy lobbying job waiting for them. You see, they don't have the fears that you have. And see, corporate media, you know, no matter what they do, they really can't cover up the story. They can't hide it. And yet, even right now, as I'm looking at my computer, and I just got a notification from the Democrats, they're still asking me for money. Still asking me for a goddamn penny. Isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful? Democrats are still asking me for money. Are you still getting emails from the Democrats as they beg and cry, asking for money? Please get money us now. Give me money, because look, we got to talk about healthcare in this country. We got to talk about how people are upset. And so, look, I want to pull up this video here. Shot again, the case study QB who's wrongly being censored. I won't play all of it because this is corporate media, by the way. But it talks about Even conservatives facing backlash from their own followers over the United Healthcare killer. What's going on?
Today, the 26-year-old suspect in the killing of the United Healthcare CEO was back in a Pennsylvania courtroom for an extradition hearing to determine when he'll be brought back to New York to face charges, including second-degree murder. The case has brought out a clear division in the reaction among those on the right. You see, when popular conservative pundits like Ben Shapiro and anti-woman zealot Matt Walsh tried to attack, quote, evil liberals for celebrating the murder of a CEO, they were met with backlash from some of their own supporters who defended the violence. Because the truth is, those on the right don't necessarily abhor violence if it's against someone they don't like Black Lives Matter activists or pro-Palestinian protesters, undocumented immigrants, or the homeless. That's why we see them get behind people like Kyle Rittenhouse, who shot and killed 2 BLM protesters, or George Zimmerman, who shot and killed 17-year-old.
Now, Kyle Rittenhouse story has been drastically, falsely, and horribly covered by corporate media, okay? But the thing is, I've spoken to a fair share of conservatives who don't want to see homeless people get hurt. I've spoken to a fair share of conservatives who don't want to see protesters get hurt. They might have disagreements. What do you mean seeing people get hurt? Like, why are you painting them all under a brush? See, this is where MSNBC, once again, screws at its job. And MSNBC, don't worry, I got a story in particular just for you, because thankfully I had a viewing audience member hand me in a wonderful, wonderful treat, because it's not in the show notes, but I cannot wait to share it with all of you.
Trayvon Martin and turn them into cause celebs. Just look at how, in nearly the same breath, Fox's Laura Ingraham speaks about the 26-year-old United Healthcare suspect and Daniel Penny, who was just acquitted yesterday in the subway chokehold death of 30-year-old homeless man Jordan Neely.
Bag people, which I was sent in the commercial break earlier, crazy. Like, he's cute, and people celebrating this. This is a sickness. Honestly, it's so disappointing, but I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And up next, the other big news out of New York, Daniel Penny. A lot of people think he's a hero, and tonight he's not guilty. My take next.
Wow. Joining me now is Jason Johnson, professor of politics and journalism at Morgan State University and host of the podcast A Word with Jason Johnson. And vive la différence, Jason.
We just witnessed a murder of irony.
Yes.
That was a murder right there.
Dead.
Irony is officially dead. Yeah. Under any and all circumstances. We should not be surprised in this country that just reelected Donald Trump.
And I mean, the reality is, you know, if you go back to the Trayvon Martin case, you can go back before that. You can go back to the justification for lynching among conservatives, whether the conservatives wearing the D uniform or the R uniform. Conservatism itself has justified violence. January 6th.
Now, see, this is where, again, corporate media misses the point. It shows how propagandized it is. But what's not being talked about? What's not being talked about in the major social media circles? You have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and those within the establishment trying to make their own narrative. And you have MSNBC also running their own narrative. But overall, what's not being talked about? What's the bigger story not being talked about? Health care in the country. You know, I did play a couple of videos from Matt Orfala where it's talking about what's happening to people who are struggling. And, you know, there were a lot of people, conservative and libertarian, green, socialist, Democrat, liberal, who were a part of that 100,000 viewer town hall that Jimmy Dore hosted way back in 2021. And they were across the political spectrum, each of them asking our lawmakers to force the vote, especially to those 15 congressmen and women who were part of that petition. Don't think the people forgot, AOC. Don't think the people forgot, squad members, if there's any of them left. I know you lost 2 of your members already because the people voted them out. But where are you at? When push comes to shove, why aren't you fighting back? Lawmakers, why aren't you fighting for Medicare for all? Why aren't you making it the lightning rod issue? You know what I say to all the activists and organizers who live in citizen ballot initiative states? No matter where you stand politically, if you live in a citizen ballot initiative state, fight to make your state a citizen ballot initiative state fighting for Medicare for all. It's got to be done at the state level. It's never going to happen at the federal level. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. Okay. Washington, D.C., Bernie Sanders, the nutless wonder, Ro Khanna, they're not going to push forward with it. AOC, she's not going to do it. Biden, he's never going to do it. Come on. He never was going to do it. The talk of Medicare for all, though. But, It's all about brownie points. Oh, we shouldn't condemn this murder. Oh, we shouldn't have this happen. Oh my goodness, this is terrible. That side promote violence. That side promote violence. You want to know what's real violence? When you have an institution denying people health care. That's violence. You see that, AOC? That's violence, not words. MTG, AOC, you got a lot in common, don't you? Oh, that's right. You're both Congress people. Oh, and you both have gold-plated health care. And you got a nice, cushy job in Congress until you got to run for re-election again. What's real violence, what's really disturbing is that these healthcare insurance industries can buy and give money to Democratic and Republican lawmakers. What's really violent is that these same healthcare insurance industries deny healthcare to hardworking Americans. What's really violent is that these healthcare insurance corporations still continue their abusive practices, and because of that, they can dictate policy. And how do they dictate policy? MONEY, that they put in the hip back pocket to these politicians. Yet MTG's worried that this could lead to universal health care. That's going to cause people to get more angry. Well, yeah, everyone has a right to be angry. But hey, I'm going to end this segment with a classic Coca-Cola question. How do you feel about health care in the United States? Type 1 for, oh, Kit, my health care insurance is just A-okay. Type 2, man, you know the answer to that. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I wonder how many 2s will be in the chat. I wonder.
It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Whether or not in Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
I don't mean to sound alarmist, but most of what they let you read is garbage. Most of it's designed to warp our minds until subconsciously you find you'll take the time to lick their boots free of grime and wipe their minds free of tarnish. Oil is the centerpiece, a body count of millions is the garnish. So how's it feel to know we funded every carcass? That every year our taxes pay for carpet bombing Gaza under shroud of darkness? Or that we spend enough a year to house and feed each homeless person in the streets on turning families in apartment buildings in the Middle East to bloody craters full of charred garments? And our media is silent at best. At worst, they can find it in themselves to call war crimes clashes and label children burned to ashes terrorists who played a stupid game and reaped the harvest. And every time we try to paint the truth, the news sends their slugs to suck off all the varnish and distort it into something harmless. See, the media will hang you by your feet and keep you half asleep. So yes, I'm here to set you free, but freedom won't be sweet because you'll fall 1,000 feet when I come cut you out your harness. They say those who dream the deepest fall the farthest. They also say that home is where the heart is. But if home for you is Gaza, Netanyahu's got you painted as a target. Perhaps it's not the impact, but it's what you see when falling that will hit the hardest. Maybe it's the sound of all those children crying out in those apartments that will hit the hardest. Maybe all those little bodies scattered in the dirt will hit the hardest. Maybe seeing human lives assigned such little worth will hit the hardest. Maybe it's the knowledge that you're paying for the darkest of atrocities committed on this earth that will hit the hardest. Maybe it's the knowledge that we give 10 million a day to oppressors who possess the kind of Medicare you'll die in debt before you see that's gonna hit the hardest. Maybe then you'll see you've always had more in common with the commoners whose slaughter we fund every day in Gaza than our senators and bosses. Maybe then you'll see our country never had a conscience. Maybe then the retroactive guilt will make you nauseous. Maybe what hits harder than the impact is the act of being conscious, of knowing your complicity and helplessness to try and stop the bloody deeds of Congress. And that no matter who's in office, America preserves its foreign interests by whatever means its greed demands, however monstrous. You see, we'll always need a place to drain our contras. And Biden's got a backup plan should harm befall the Holy Land. Wipe it off the map, he'll draw it back on with an iron hand. He demands an Israel or reasonable effigy to exercise democracy and colonize the Middle East. Regardless of the human cost of phosphorus atrocities, bought and paid with money they rerouted out the budget for the non-essential things like ever making Flint's water clean. So maybe what hits hardest is the day you see this country for its actual priorities, and nevermore no honest peace attempting sleep. Maybe then you'll look at politicians making speeches like a blood-encrusted beast espousing destiny to empty seats and fellow leeches. As the gauntlet of democracy extends its brutal reach, like a giant wave of trash come to crash on foreign beaches. Maybe build a base, throw a flag down, and heavily pollute the region. Rape your ecosystems, gut your fauna, and congratulate you on your new allegiance. Oops, we mean alliance. This is something mutual unless you're non-compliant. We stole something crucial on which you can be reliant. So maybe what hits hardest is the centrists saying both sides need to stop the violence. And those would be the very same centrists saying we should all accept police brutality, who hem and haw and clutch their fucking pearls and spend their time condemning riots. But very soon will come the day the centrists all get censored like the rest of us, and pious as they'll try to be, they won't stay quiet. But they'll just end up shouting in the void that they were also quick to render us subscribers. And it will be too late to light the fires. So far away tonight, they burn the spires of a region set ablaze for which you've paid for every pyre. Which is why your checks weren't all $600 higher. And call it foreign interests or American desires. This is why your checks weren't all $600 higher. Far away tonight, they burn the spires of a region set ablaze for which you've paid for every pyre. Foreign interests or American desires. This is why your checks weren't all $600